a kids show, rated TVY7, suitable for children 7 and up. In this show, a former Jedi gets blinded. A teenager slowly gets corrupted by the dark side. A young woman has to accept that her former master would kill her without hesitation. And one of the most beloved characters in the entire show sacrifices himself while his family flees just a few feet away. Sounds more like Game of Thrones in space? Nope, this is Star Wars Rebels. The show almost everyone laughed at when it first came out, me included. Back in 2014, Rebels looked to me like the textbook definition of a Disney kids show. Thinner lightsabers, more colorful animation, stormtroopers who still can't hit anything. There was no way this could live up to the Clone Wars, I thought, until I finally gave it a shot. And today, I'm convinced Rebels is one of the darkest stories Star Wars has ever told. Not because heads roll every 5 minutes, but because this show slowly, quietly destroys its characters. And that's exactly why we're talking today about the moments that prove Rebels was never really a kids show. When Disney announced Rebels, a lot of fans were disappointed. Cartoonish visuals, smaller battles, way less Clone Wars, and a street kid named Ezra Bridger instead of hundreds of Jedi. But that was exactly the trick. The Clone Wars told the story of war. Rebels tells the story of what war does to people. Instead of hundreds of Jedi, we follow one small family, the Ghost Crew, Hera, Kanan, Sabine, Zeb, Ezra, and Chopper. And the longer you spend with them, the worse everything gets. And it all starts with the one man who was supposed to give them hope. Because Rebels doesn't give us a perfect Jedi, it gives us probably the most broken Jedi we've ever seen in canon. Kanan Jarrus looks like the classic Jedi mentor. He's anything but. His real name is Caleb Dume. He was still a Padawan when Order 66 began. His master, Depa Billaba, sacrificed herself so he could escape. Kanan survives, physically at least. Psychologically, his life ends that day. He hides his lightsaber, his name, everything that could connect him to the Jedi. So when he meets Ezra, he's the last person ready to train an apprentice. His teaching style basically comes down to 3 things: improvise, hope, and pretend you have a plan, which weirdly works more often than it should. That's exactly what makes Kanan feel so human. He makes mistakes, he doubts himself, he loses his temper, but that's also exactly why he slowly grows into the role fate forced on him. And right when he finally starts believing in himself again, the show takes everything away. Because the next big threat isn't a Sith. It's not even Darth Vader. It's someone who tells Ezra exactly what every teenager wants to hear. You're stronger than all of them. When we talk about falling to the dark side, most people think of Anakin, but Ezra is actually the more realistic case. Maul doesn't even try to impress him with power. He flatters him, he listens to him, he treats him like an adult. That's exactly how manipulation and radicalization work in the real world too. Not through force, but through validation. Ezra starts listening to Maul more and more. He uses the Sith holocron. He gets more aggressive, more arrogant, more convinced that power can solve his problems. And here's the genuinely unsettling part. Ezra doesn't turn evil. He just becomes more and more convinced that he's the only one who actually knows what's right. That's how almost every fall to the dark side starts. Not with hate, with conviction. While Ezra is slipping on the inside, Kanan is breaking on the outside. On Malachor, Maul slashes his lightsaber across Kanan's face. Kanan loses his sight. Shockingly brutal for a show rated for kids 7 and up. But the injury isn't even the worst part. It's the symbolism. Kanan can no longer see, and Ezra can no longer recognize which path he's on. Up to this point, you'd still think Rebels was just a pretty solid animated show. After the next chapter, you'll understand exactly why so many fans still love it today. If you had to describe Darth Vader in 3 words, Too late, too strong, too unstoppable. The Ghost crew doesn't stand a chance against him, not even a small one. Even Kanan and Ezra aren't really fighting Vader, they're just trying to survive long enough to escape. The real turning point happens on Malachor. Ahsoka stands against Vader, not as a rebel, but as his former student. During the fight, she manages to crack his mask open. For one brief moment, you see Anakin's face, you hear his real voice, but the moment vanishes just as fast. Vader takes over again, and the man who once would have given his life for Ahsoka now tries to kill her without hesitation. This isn't a flashy lightsaber duel, but if you think Vader is the darkest part of this show, wait until Rebels sacrifices its best character. After Malachor, Ezra changes, not suddenly, slowly. He keeps secretly using the Sith holocron, keeps listening to Maul's advice, keeps getting more aggressive. Then he uses the Force to take control of an Imperial Walker pilot's mind, forcing him to attack his own comrades. And the pilot goes down with his walker. At first, it looks like a cool action beat. It isn't. Ezra is using another person like a puppet, exactly the kind of power the Jedi have warned against for thousands of years. And here's the fascinating part. Ezra still believes he's in the right. The dark side rarely feels evil, it feels efficient. Thankfully, Kanan realizes Ezra doesn't need more training. He needs someone to remind him why Jedi exist in the first place, not to become stronger, but to protect others. But right as Kanan wins his student back, he pays the highest price for it. Because now comes probably the saddest death in all of Star Wars animation. When fans talk about the saddest deaths in Star Wars, the same names come up almost every time. Qui-Gon, Fives, Obi-Wan. Kanan gets left out surprisingly often, which is strange because his death isn't just sad, it's perfectly set up. His entire life was shaped by one single moment, Order 66 and his master's sacrifice. When Governor Price orders the fuel tank destroyed, a massive explosion erupts. Kanan holds the flames back with the Force while Hera, Sabine, and Ezra escape. For one brief moment, his sight comes back, not permanently and not because the Force heals him, but so he can see his family one last time. Then he pushes everyone to safety and disappears in the explosion. No dramatic last words, just a quiet sacrifice. Kanan's death doesn't just save his friends, it completes his entire character arc. The kid who once only wanted to survive dies in the end willingly for others. You really can't get more Jedi than that. But then Rebels does something most shows would never dare to do. It gives Ezra a chance to bring Kanan back. Right before the finale, Ezra discovers the world between worlds, a mysterious space outside of normal time and space. He pulls Ahsoka out of her fight against Vader at the very last second and then finds a second portal leading straight to Kanan right before his death. But Ahsoka stops him. If Kanan lives, Hera, Sabine, and Ezra himself die instead. For the first time, Ezra has to accept that love doesn't mean you can save everyone. Sometimes love means letting go. That's exactly where Anakin Skywalker failed, and exactly why Ezra passes the test this time. Palpatine, of course, also tries to force his way into this dimension because the man never stops looking for new paths to immortality. Ezra ultimately destroys the portal and consciously turns his back on absolute power. In the finale, everything comes full circle back on Lothal. Ezra faces Thrawn alone, not because he thinks he's stronger, but because he finally understands what Kanan spent his whole life trying to teach him. A Jedi doesn't win by surviving. A Jedi wins by making sure others do. Then, the Purgles show up, those giant space whales everyone laughed at back at the start. And they become the key to victory. Ezra sacrifices himself and vanishes with Thrawn into hyperspace, with no idea if he'll ever come back. He's no longer the street kid from episode 1. He's become the Jedi Kanan always saw in him. Maybe that's exactly why Rebels stayed underrated for so long, because the show never had to be loud about it. No R rating, no blood. Instead, trauma, guilt, radicalization, loss, and the realization that even the greatest heroes can't save everyone. And the craziest part? Disney hid all of that inside a show for 7-year-olds, tucked between colorful characters, goofy droids, and hyperspace-jumping space whales. Maybe Star Wars Rebels isn't just a kid's show after all. Maybe it's one of the most grown-up stories Star Wars has ever told. And if you think that's already the darkest corner of the Star Wars universe, just wait until we talk about the stories Disney would never dare put on screen.